Hello guys, and what's good? This is Agyapong, and I'm excited that you guys are joining me today for this educative content. Now, without much ado, let's join in right away. Now, what do we have here? This is the 2020 Information and Communication Technology Paper 3, and as usual, you have 2 hours to answer 3 problems. Make sure you read the instructions to know what you're supposed to do. Now, going through this, all that is being required from us here is to create a folder where we have to save our files on the desktop of our computer. Then we use our initials and our index number. So we quickly do that. So this is my name, Agyapong, and index number 011000101. Good. So we come back, save all our work into this folder as we move on. Now, without much ado, let's jump into the problem we have at hand. All right, so this is problem 3 of 2020 WASSCE, and this is about database. All right, so what is this problem saying? We have to use an appropriate database application to design a database and name it DB customers in the folder created. All right, so we just do that. So we open access and we have to name our database DB customers. And where are we supposed to save this? So we hit on the browse icon. We have to go to our desktop, locate our folder and drop it in. So that is basically that. Great. Sorry Microsoft, no updates today. So we've done that, and let's snap this to the left. Let's read along our problem and then we just do that side by side. So we've created our database named DB customers. That is done. Now we move to subproblem A. Now we have to create a table in the database with the following fields: customers ID, last name, first name, country, location, and tel number. All right, but it looks like these fields have certain constraints to them, and we have to enforce certain properties. And you look at the customer ID first. This field, we should format it to accept only letters as the first 2 characters and only numeric, that is digits, for the rest of the 4 characters. So example, we might have something like ZZ8888. So we are enforcing that strictly the first 2 characters should be only letters followed by four numbers. So how do we do that? All right, so here we simply change our views. In database, you have different views so that you can enforce. Now, when you look here, you might see 2, but when you create certain database objects and examples of database objects, you have tables, you have forms, you have query, you have reports. So for example, if we create a query and then we check on views, you see that there is an additional view called the Sql View. And I hope you guys have heard SQL before, SQL. That is some statements just to create or fetch or retrieve some answers or data from our database. So we go to design view, and how do we name this table? Now it is important, before we can switch views, we have to save. And if we are saving our table, how are we going to save this? It should be given the problem. So let's look around. A doesn't give that, so B, save the table as TBL customers. So we do that. TBL customers. All right, so we've saved our table and then we are in our design view. All right, so these are the fields you're supposed to create: customers ID, first name, last name, country, and all that. So let's do that. Now our customers ID serves as our primary key, right? Primary key will uniquely identify our records. So that is that. Now we do this. So customer ID here, and Looking at this, we can't use auto number, that is auto generated, because we are coming to enforce certain constraints with the type of the any data that we put in this field. So we can just change this to short text. So auto number, change it to short text. Oh, come on. So there's to that short text. And here under the field properties, you see we can add certain properties to the field just as the question is requesting. Now looking at this, what we'll be dealing most with is the input mask. Now someone will ask, hey, what is input mask? I'm kind of messed out on that. Oh, don't worry. When you talk about input mask, it's basically string of characters, okay, that will indicate the format of a valid or an acceptable input value. So we are here trying to restrict the type of data that users will put into our database. So the enforcement here from the problem is that, hey, anytime you want to put anything as a customer ID, this is the rule it has to follow. The first two characters should be letters followed by 4 digits. So how do we get to know what to put as input mask to enforce these rules? Now this you have to do some digging. So guys, just go out there, just Google input mask for Microsoft Access, and it will just return you some links, websites that you can read much more on, because you have to know. It is very important in databases. All right. So what can we put here as an input mask so that it follows this rule? Now in input marks, we put in some characters to enforce certain rules. And based on what A is asking, is requiring, if we need to input anything in the field to accept that the first two characters are letters, what the character is here is an L. That is a capital L. The L here is a character that enforces that you must, if you are entering anything into that field, you must enter a letter. So we need the first two characters to be letters. So that is, we use two L's. So that is the representation there. Now we have 4 values here after the first two characters, 4 characters, which should be digits, numbers 0 to 9. But when you look at our table, you see that it is not restricting. We have only 3 values after our first two. So that means that we can't enforce strictly that any user should input at a must of 4 digits. That means we should go by the optional version. That means you can choose to input 4 numbers or not after the first two, which are compulsory. So the character used to do that is 9. Now 9 here is just telling or enforcing that a user can, the word there is can, so it is optional. You can input a digit there. So we can put 3, 2, 1 or 4 exactly, but not more than 4 as we have indicated. So that is the concepts around input mask. So guys, go out there and do some reading. It will be good for us all. All right, so we are done with customer's ID. The second field is first name. All right. So we have first name, first underscore name, and short text. Great. Last name, same. No enforcement of certain rules. Now, after that, we have country. Now there's a condition to country. Country must be formatted to be a lookup field. A lookup means that there are some possible values set already predefined that you have to just look at the options available to you and choose one, right? So that is basically that. Now this should be displayed in the combo box to be selected from, and these are the options: Ghana, Togo, Benin, Nigeria, Sierra Leone, and all that. Okay, so we created that field. And right in here, we have to use a lookup. So let me just expand this and then get this properly. So here we want, oh come on, yeah, up here in country, we need to create a lookup. So the data type lookup. So here access will just help us create this lookup value. Now what do we want to do? We don't want to look up the value from another table or query, but we want to type in the values that we want because it was given in the question. And we just need one list of countries, right? So let's go pick up the countries that we need. Now back to this, we have Ghana, Togo, Benin. So let's do that. So, Ghana, Togo, Benin. Now let's be decent. Let's do alphabetical order. So we have Benin first. And Ghana follows next. And we have Kenya. And Nigeria follows. And then Sierra Leone. So that is basically our 5 countries: Ghana, Togo, Benin, Nigeria, Sierra Leone, and Kenya. Yes, we're good to go. So these are the list we want to provide. And how do we want to call the lookup field? Yeah, just leave it to that. Do I want to limit the entries to these choices? Yes, these are the only choices I want to make available. And that is basically that. So up in here, in that same field, when you hit on the lookup field property, you see that yes, the display control is a combo box as suggested in the problem. Then these are the list values: Benin, Ghana, Kenya, in the raw or the row source. That is the row source. So these are the values that will be available to the user to select from. This is pretty interesting, right? Yeah, I know. All right, so let's go back to see if we have more fields to create. Location. So location in here, location, and it's going to use text. So short text will do fine because we can input 225 maximum characters. It's way much enough. Then the last field we have tel number. So tel number here. Now for tel number, we have some conditions. We must format it to appear in this way. So we have 3 digits followed by a hyphen, 1 digit followed by a hyphen, then 3 digits followed by a hyphen, and then the last 2 digits. And it must accept only numerics with X as the placeholder. So in this case, all these should be numbers, but then we are just going to divide them so that and then a hyphen will just differentiate between them basically. So the input mask here, that is all that is needed here. Now for input mask here, it is a must. They must be in this format. You see the word must. So we must strictly, it's not optional, so we must use characters that enforce strictness. And here, since we want digits, they're just numbers, so the character 0 enforces this rule. So what do we need? First 3 digits. Yes. Now we have to show a hyphen. That is a special character. And in the world of input marks here for access, your backslash here does the job. Anytime you introduce a backslash and a character, it could be this, it could be that, whatever you need to put in there. Here, when you bring the backslash, anything that you type will be literally shown there. So we will need to show a hyphen. That is what we've done. Then after that, we go back to the problem. We have 1 digit. So that is just 1 0. Then when that is done, we'll have to show a hyphen again. So backslash and hyphen. And I guess you guys are following, right? You get the pattern. So that is basically what we have to do. Yeah, so it does that. First three should be digits followed by a hyphen. The next digits should be single followed by a hyphen. Next three digits followed by a hyphen, and then the last two. So this solves our problem for us as the input mask. And basically that completes problem A. So it's been a lot, but I guess you guys are having fun and then learning new stuff, right? So we save this, Control S, and then let's switch views to see what we've created so far. Oh, lovely. So that is basically that. So I guess we are done for A. Let's flip and then see what we have to do next. B, save the table as TBL customers, so table customers, which we already did. Yeah. And C, enter the following records in the table. Entering data entry. So we get to type here. Now based on because we enforce some input mask, that is why you see certain things like that over there. So let's go ahead and start typing. We have GH1. Alright, so here I'm hitting G and H. Now you see we express that we only accept first two characters to be what? Letters. So if I delete H and H and then I want to put a 0 there, you hear me hitting my keyboard, but nothing is happening because of the input mask. It is not accepting a letter there. The first two positions are only to be occupied by letters. So you see how helpful this feature can be to enforce security, prevent SQL injections and all that. So that is GH0. So you see the next field, we hit 0, it comes. What if I delete and decide to press an H again? I'm hitting H, but then you see it is not recording. But the moment I hit any number, yes, any number at all, it will just show up. So that is the usefulness of this. So let's finish up this. Now here we were given to input 4. We accept 4, right? So here, if I add another, yes, it will take it. Because we made it optional, you can choose to put a character there, which is a digit, or not. I'm hitting a letter, not responding. I hit a number, it does. Now after the 4, because we ensure that we only have 6 characters in this field, the first two letters, last 4 digits. Anything I press again is not recorded, whether it's a letter or number. You get me? So that is our input mask at work. So let's finish this. Nora Mano country lookup value. She comes from Ghana. So here, this is our drop down. So this is what we created as a lookup value to select from the list we want. So she's from Ghana, we select Ghana and we're good to go. Location, she's at Tema, and then the telephone number. Back to our problem, we have 03. So in here, yep, telephone number 030. We have 5624, and then we have 83. So you see how it has been properly formatted because of our input mask. So that is basically that. So let's go ahead, try to finish this off as quickly as we can because we really do not have a lot of time to waste on one problem. Mind you, 2 hours solving 3 problems. So make sure our typing skills help us, and I hope you guys are quite practicing, right? Data entry, you cannot dodge, you have to be comfortable on our keyboard. Now when you get here in the lookup field, you can just continue typing. You can just look at typing the name of the country and you can select that from it. Oh, it seems we're missing something. There was Benin, Ghana, Kenya, Nigeria, Sierra Leone. It seems we have Togo in here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we only have 5. That means we missed Togo. So here we have to go and then include Togo to our list. So how do we do that? Don't panic. Just go back to our design view. And in here where we have our country, we come to the lookup field property. So you see here, these are the options here. So we can include Togo. Then Togo, that is T, comes after Sierra Leone, which is S, right? Awesome. So this is what you do. So we come here in that field, and then we separate, that is a semicolon, and then add Togo to the list. So a semicolon separates the countries, and they are all put in quotes. So that and Togo, and this will save us. So we can just Control S to save, and we can go back to our datasheet view. So when we come here, let's see our drop down. We see we now have Togo here, right? Yeah. So anytime there is a problem, don't panic. You are in control. All right. So Togo, we start typing the name of the country, starting with T. You see it will fetch Togo from it. Press Tab on the keyboard to autocomplete for you, and you can go ahead and then race against time. That is quite easy, right? Yeah. And then telephone number, we have 063 4541 and then 89. So that is neat. All right, next customer, we have engine customer ID engine 001, and the name of this customer, we have Rafiu here. No, 1U Rafiu, and from Nigeria, so N to autocomplete, pick up Nigeria, hit tab to autocomplete, and you move on. And from Kano, and telephone number, we have 029 5642, and then that last customer, and then we are out. So BN002, and we have Karen, and we have Jubeli, Karen Jubeli, and she's from Benin. So B, we complete that. Location Benin, telephone number 092 547288. So that completes our customer table. So far so good, right? Great. So now let's move on to the rest of our problems. Now problem D, create a query to show the fields customer ID, customer name, country, location, and telephone number from the TBL customers table. So that is our table, where here we see a new label called customer name. It happens to be merged, a merge field of our first name and last name from the table. So all that this part is telling us that, hey, we're going to create a query that is another database object, but we're going to merge these two fields together, first name, last name, into one, and call that customer's name. So how do we do that? So let's go to full view, and then let's do that. Now we need to create a query. So you go to your tab, create button, and then we use the query wizard to walk us through the creating of our query here. We're creating a simple query, yeah, and this is our source. Where are we getting our data? Yes, our table. And from the question, we're supposed to use all these fields. So this double click to just push all of them, the fields we need for our query. And then we hit on next. What title do we want for our query? Now every object has a name. Now let's look up our question and see if there is a name. So we save the query as query QRY customers or uppercase. So that is problem E. So we save that as such. So query highlights all of this, just delete everything, and then query customers. Great. And then we can finish here. So you see we've created our query. That is cool. But then except that our problem is really not solved. Now the instruction was to create a new field which is labeled customer name, and that happens to be a merger. We are merging. Merging means joining, and then in other words concatenating. We're joining the first name and then the last name. So how do we do that? So we don't want to even see first name and last name here, so they will be hidden, and then we only see customer name as the next field occupying here. Then we have country, location, telephone number. So let's do that. How do we go about that? Let's visit our design view. Yeah, and I hope you guys recognize this SQL view. So that is another view. So apart from datasheet view, design view, you have SQL view that is used to see the SQL statements that you're making. SQL. All right. Now here, all that we need to do is to do away with last name, first name. We should hide them, but create another column. So here, up in here, in the query design toolbox, so query tools here, we insert a column. And this column was to be labeled customer. So we have customers underscore name, or was it customer name? Let's be sure. So we have customer name, true customer name. All right. Now here, how do we merge? Merging here, that is the name of the label. Merging here is taking the field names. So the field name here, we have first name as you see in the next column here, and then we have last name. So we put the names there as we see them. First name, first underscore name. Yeah, that is done. But how do we merge? Merging anywhere uses the operator ampersand. So your ampersand operator is used to join. Think of the ampersand as a glue, meaning you have two objects. You need to merge, join them together. So using ampersand as a glue, we have to apply the glue to both ends of this object, right? So you take one end, apply, so we apply our ampersand, that is that. And you know, for names, first name, last name, but then after the first name there should be a space before the last name happens, right? So how do we enforce a space? You use the quotes and literally leave a space inside. So that is your enforcement of a space between two characters. And lastly, we have to apply ampersand, i.e. our imaginative glue here. So we apply the glue to the other end of the second object, which is last name. You guys are following, right? Yeah. So that is basically that. So when you do this, yeah, we have last name ampersand the space. So that is how to merge. So here we can save, Control S to save this, and let's see quickly what we have done so far. So let me resize this cell, and you see that yes, it has done that. Look at first name Karen, last name Jibuli, and what we did there has merged these two fields, first name space last name. That's what we have here. So the rest of our job, everything is done. We just only have to hide the first name field and then the last name field. So let's go back there to our query design view, and you see this row here, which is show. So up in here, we don't need to show. If it is checked, it means it will show in our query. If it is unchecked from our checkboxes, that is, it won't be showed. So we can Control S to save this. Let's go back and see what we've done so far. So true indeed, we've hidden our first name field and then the last name field. All right, so far so good. Everything looks clean, looks good right now, right? Yes, and let's see if we have more problems to tackle. And no, it happens that saving our query as QRY customers, which we already did here, was the last of our problems. So we've been able to achieve this. We've done that. That is what is being displayed here. Then we created this, our query. We inputted our data, which is in our tables. Yes, so this is our table. And then based on the restrictions given to us, which we did in our design view, enforcing input mask and all that, we did that and it looks good. Everything just looks good. So our table, our query looks good. And that is all for our 15 marks. And I hope we do get an end that we've actually earned those marks. So let's go back and verify. Make sure that all the time you verify that your work is indeed saved by opening a folder, open our file and see that yes, all that we did is truly in there and available upon request. So that is an important step in solving problems. Make sure you verify your work and it looks clean. Everything is just as we wanted and we can say goodbye to this problem. Thank you for sticking with me, guys. It has been an amazing time spending time with you guys, and I hope you guys have learned something new. Mind you, if you are new to this channel, if you like this video, just subscribe to this channel so that you continue enjoying such educative content. It's been my pleasure having you around. I'm Agyapong, and I hope you guys stay awesome out there. See you in the next video, and bye for now.